What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another True Nerds Gaming podcast. Thank you all for stopping in. We truly appreciate it. I say that every single week, so we're going to get right into it. What do we got going on today, Dan?
We got Cyberpunk update. Patch 1.5 is now the time to jump back into Cyberpunk. And a little were we right from 2 weeks ago's episode? We'll find out in this week's episode.
All right, topic number one, newsflash. Jolie and I are right as always. So, what happened to the 3DS store and the Wii U store?
So Nintendo announced this week that they'll be shutting down the 3DS store and Wii U store, just like we predicted
I was
in
going to say,
episode ago.
Didn't we just talk about that literally, 14, 15 days ago?
Mm-hmm.
Like
it was our most successful video until last week's super successful video. So, we perfectly called it. Now is even a better time to get yourself into the 3DS universe right before everything's shut down. You can still download all of your games, and once you've got them downloaded, you can keep playing them. You just can't re-download them after next year in March 2023. It's shutting down.
So, along with the digital versions on the 3DS, if you didn't watch the previous video, go watch it. However, if you want to learn right now, that's going to cause the physical copies to skyrocket. So you can't get them digitally anymore. So going into March of next year, right? That's what you just said.
Yep.
At that point, they are going to be only available physically. They're going to skyrocket. Right now, typical 3DS games, we talked before, 20 to 30 bucks. Get your hands on them now if you need to, want to. The 3DS themselves, the 2DS, those are probably going to go up because people are going to want to get them physically, the physical games. They're going to need the 3DS or 2DS to play them. It's one of those things where if you want to get into that handheld console, you need to jump on it because in the past, history always repeats itself, right? It's going to happen. Those prices are going to get pretty outrageous, and I'm not personally willing to pay for that. But I don't know about you, Dan.
Those $70, $80, $100 games. Now, I may have paid $70, $80 to $100 for the DS Pokemon games because they're not available digitally anymore, but the 3DS versions still are available digitally, which is keeping their price right around $30 or under. So they're awesome games to jump into for that price. And the last time I checked after that week's episode, GameStop was still selling refurbished 3DSs and 2DSs. They still had them in stock. I checked 2 different days, so they weren't like completely sold out. So go and check those out. For I think it was $90 for the 2DS and 130 or 40 for the 3DS XL original version. Both awesome deals.
Yeah,
check it out
on eBay. That's going to blow any eBay price out of the water. So
for sure.
But yeah, we'll leave it at that. Get out there if you have any urge or sense of wanting to play 3DS, 2DS. Go get your hands on it now because you can't really wait much longer. You're gonna be burning your pocketbook. So, what else we got today?
All right, Cyberpunk updated the game to version 1.5, which added specific versions for the Xbox Series S and PS5 consoles. Originally, they were just running in backwards compatibility with the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the game. So this adds like specific versions for those games. They have a ray tracing mode, a performance mode, and a host of, they said, over 1,000 bug fixes in both versions and the PC version of the game.
1,000. So
claimed 1,000.
Claimed. So I've been doing. I've never played Cyberpunk. I'm gonna be completely upfront and honest about that. I'm a huge CD Projekt Red fan, just from mostly The Witcher 2. Surprisingly, not Witcher 3. I played my fair share of Witcher 3, but Witcher 2. So I'm looking right now, and they have an entire news webpage going over the bug fixes, the updates, and it's a lot. So I again, personally haven't played it, but just looking at this, they're still putting a lot of effort into this game to try to make it work because, I think they kind of have to based on how much marketing they put into it and time, money. You jumped into it, right? You said you played about 4 or 5 hours of the game. How did your experience go?
Yeah, well, I think it's really big for them reputation wise. I think that's their big push to like really try and fix this game and make it really big is because they're such a company built on reputation, and they had a big following of people who loved their reputation. They bought games specifically from them. They had their own PC launcher, and people would go out of their way to buy games on their launcher, even if it was more expensive, because they had some user first features, like customer first features. They're very customer focused. They were DRM free games, which means you didn't have to be online to play them. That you owned the games. If like the servers shut down later on, you could still play the game. So people loved that about them, and we had this big faith. Everybody was like, "Hey, CD Projekt Red's not going to screw us over. These are the good guys in gaming. They do their best to be customer first." And then Cyberpunk came around, and they marketed the crap out of it and lied to us, and it went down the shitter. So I think they have this edge on them to like, hey, we got to fix this game. We got to make people come back and play this game because our reputation's on the line, and future games down the road may not have as good a releases.
Yeah,
they really had this perfect storm for Cyberpunk, right? Like the people like they had updated The Witcher 3 for years. People kept like it was like the word of mouth game. People, if you haven't played this game, you got to play this game, right?
Best RPG of all times.
Yeah, exactly. There's so much hype, and so then their marketing jumped on Cyberpunk and like built it up, and people were like, "Oh, we love The Witcher and we love this, and they're doing all these things so right. Like this is going to be the greatest game of all time." And then it just launched in such a bad state.
And CD Projekt Red's sitting at their office like, holy shit, guys, can you just tone down the hype a little bit? Because you got to think the size of that studio going into Witcher 1, 2, and 3, the amount of sheer growth that studio did. And it's
so there's two different departments, right? So there's the game developers are like, guys, like, don't get so hyped. And then there's the marketing, sales, executive department that's like, yeah, hype it up. It's going to be the greatest game ever because we want to sell 10 million copies or whatever. So yeah, it just didn't land very well. And the saddest part is it's a really good game.
Right.
The story's there. The graphics are there. Nothing has beat it to this day. It's been a year, and there hasn't been a game that's close in graphics.
So you see with this game, if it wouldn't have been hyped and if it wouldn't have been created by the developers of Witcher 3, looking at it, people were expecting this huge, massive map. They were expecting everything that The Witcher had as far as complex storylines, side stories, this and that. So the reputation and the community wanting and wishing just kept hype training.
For sure.
And then, I think about this a lot with Larian Studios. They're one of my favorite studios, and I will throw money at them no matter what they come out with. They're working on Baldur's Gate 3. I bought that as soon as I could on early access. I've bought Divinity Original Sins 2 multiple platforms multiple times, and I feel like a lot of people were doing that with Cyberpunk because they trusted CD Projekt Red so much. So is it too late for see, the only reason
I bought it on Xbox and PC.
the only reason I didn't do that is I'm not a huge punk theme sci-fi guy. I was like, maybe I'll watch it, but I just wasn't into it. That is the only reason I didn't pre-order it. Otherwise I would have been just as burned. So, in your opinion, do you think it's too late for CD Projekt Red? It's been over a year since the games came out, right? So, is it too late?
I don't think it's too late.
Okay.
There's been games have done really well 3 years after their release, right? They've built themselves. The original Division's a great example of them just continuously pumping out a solid, state of updates for 3 years. And then it became like people are like, dude, this game's really, really good right now.
Do you think multiplayer had?
Everybody came back into the Division.
Do you think multiplayer had something to do with that though?
Not
Because
honestly, no. Just like they just like kept making the game better. Like it was more cooperative. They did add PvP and some other aspects to it, but
well,
it
PvP
wasn't.
was out right away. That's what I'm saying. Do you think the
No,
Dark Zone?
they kind of like went away from that, and they
Okay.
just made their core like gameplay better. They made the
Okay.
looting better. They made the gameplay better. They added more weapons and better updates and balances to this and more skill trees and they balanced that and did this and made the game less buggy and added paths for you to like just like a better user experience to play.
Yeah, I was only year one with the division. I played the shit out of that game. Um, so I wasn't sure. I wasn't trying to, you know,
Right.
argue the point, but
Yep. No,
okay.
so like that's a prime example of if you just keep making updates, you just put your nose down and just keep making updates, little bits at a time, whatever you can do, take it as long as you want. People will come back. And from what I've heard, I never got into like the Witcher games right away. They were still kind of buggy when they launched, and CD Projekt Red kept updating them until they were in a good spot, and then people really like word of mouth
Hmm.
they started getting bigger and bigger than life. Like The Witcher 3 when it launched wasn't this big game that everybody had to play, or at least from my experience, I didn't even hear about it when it launched.
Yeah.
But it's word of mouth after their updates and people kept, like playing it and like making it better. Like that's how you get this good. Where they're not going about it correctly is they've already stated that they've shifted focus on just fixing bugs to making new content and then secondly trying to fix the bugs.
See, and I think that is you can't implement new shit if you didn't fix vanilla, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they're shifting that,
I think it's more sales. I
but
think
it makes no sense because you're gonna have a bunch of people on YouTube be like, "Game's still fucked up," you know.
yeah, it really is bad. But if you're gonna like, you're not gonna get new people to buy the game if it's just bug fixes for the most part.
That's
There's a
true.
few people that have been on the fence about it, right? And they've been waiting for the perfect time for all the bugs to be fixed, or like 95% of them, and then they'll
Right.
come back, right? There's a few people that have been waiting for that. But if you say, hey, we've got new content, now's the time. It's a marketing push, right?
Marketing 101,
People are
baby.
like, oh yeah, exactly. People are like, oh, there's new stuff. I should really check this game out. Oh, and
Yeah.
then by the way, they say they fixed these like bug fixes. Yeah, now it's a good time to check out that game.
So
So
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and this is my opinion on it.
Mhm.
I think their launch time was very poorly chosen to do this patch, because if you look at February and March for gaming, due to that one word we're not gonna say on YouTube, right? All the October, November releases have been pushed into January, February, March. I mean,
Mhm.
you have 5, 6, 7 AAA games just from PC, Xbox, PS5. I mean, shit, look, Elden Ring comes out Friday. Horizon Forbidden West just came out. Um,
Destiny 2, which
Destiny 2, Witch Queen. You got shit. Look at Nintendo. Their Direct. They have so many exclusives coming out, and Cyberpunk is trying to, or excuse me, CD Projekt Red is trying to do this huge marketing patch,
jump into the mix
jump
of all
into
that.
it. Me personally, no. I am not. I think it's gonna flop. I had after this, you get into your playthrough, or you're not playthrough, but your few hours. My coworker jumped on to try to play the new patch. It was a 50 gig download, 40 or 50 gig. So he sat there waiting for it to download. Gets in. Oh wait, no, he can't even get in because there is a bug on PC right now where if you have certain audio software, it won't even launch the freaking game. So they're telling you workarounds, uninstall the software. It's like, I'm not going to uninstall my audio software to play a game. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that.
Yep.
So you played on Series X, correct?
Yeah, so I tested it out on Series X and then I fired it up on the PC and played a couple hours on the PC. My PC experience was a lot smoother, but I'm not running. I mean, I try and keep my PC pretty stock for as far as like programs and other things that run in the background.
I'm the same way.
And even if I do have like a bunch of extra stuff, once the computer starts up, it's close, 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 close. Oh, I'm going to play a game, close a couple more, and then play the game with like the bare minimum that I can. And I have a very high end computer. So
Allegedly.
I didn't
One of three.
experience I didn't experience any bugs or issues like loading or firing up the game on my PC. And honestly, on the PC, God, is that game? Yeah, just it like I fired it up on the Xbox Series X for the Xbox Series X patch. I was like pretty excited because I remember being like kind of disappointed that it was only running in backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
When it first launched, I was like, okay. I think the only reason I bought it for the Xbox was actually because I was on COVID orders. I didn't want to bring my PC with me anymore, and I'd already had the Series X. I just got the Series X, and I was like, okay, this is going to be my travel gaming companion.
Mm-hmm.
Just to like, it's so small, it's compact, couple cables, I'm up and running.
Looks like a fridge.
Yep, I can put it in the fridge, pack it up, we're good to go. But so like I only had that, and I was like, fine, I'll just buy it. And I think I'd already pre-ordered it on PC, and I was like, the day came, and I was just like, I want to play it. So I fired it up on there, and I just remember it being like, this doesn't look like as good as like the previews. And so now that they specifically made Xbox Series X patch, I was expecting some pretty big things because the Xbox Series X and PS5 are very powerful and are pretty much desktop computers.
Right.
And on it, like it looked pretty good, but it didn't blow me away. And I feel like other games on the Series X either looked better or they look very similar to their PC counterparts. They just don't run it as high as a frame rate. Yeah. And this game wasn't doing it. And then so I was like, and then 10 minutes of playing on the Xbox, and I experience a bug. And I walk out of this thing, and I call my car up, and so the car like comes to you, automated, parks, and you get in and start driving it, right? And so I'm on this corner, and the car comes up, and like here's the corner, and it just crashes into everything and turns around the corner and then gets stuck on a mailbox, a fence post, whatever else. So I was like, Jesus. I get in it, and then the fence post is in the car.
You're just dragging the shit around.
And then the physics just completely went out the window. My car did a 360 and then slid over here, and I'm just like, what is going on? And then the fence post finally like got out its way out of the car, and then I could drive it normally. But I was just like,
bugs are fun. Bugs are okay. Like you look at
okay. No, like, so a couple bugs, that wasn't a game-breaking bug or anything, but that has literally been people's experience with Cyberpunk since the game launched.
That's what I was going to say. You look at Bethesda games, I mean, bugs are funny. I enjoyed it in the Elder Scrolls games. Like, I laugh. But if they've been patching this shit for a year...
Every time they said we fixed over 500 bugs, we fixed over 1,000 bugs, we've done so many bugs, but, like... I haven't seen too many other bugs, but I've seen this one a lot.
Right.
And they can't fix this one. Yeah. It's just like, it goes to show that they shifted focus and they want to like revamp the game and add new content, and they're not so concerned about these bugs. And I guess as long as it's not game breaking, you know, kind of whatever, but it really takes you out of the experience of the game.
Right.
When I fired up on PC, this game
looks good. So I'm looking right now. We got next-gen exclusives, ray tracing, performance mode, adaptive triggers on PS5, additional content. So they're adding apartments, appearance customization.
On the fly, I think, like you can change it.
Using the mirror in your apartments or safe houses. Poses, combat AI, crowd improvements, drive models, vehicle traffic. So... They're spending a lot of time on the game, and I do really respect them for that, because anytime a company just like, oh, it fails, flop, let it go. I don't respect that. Not saying that they are doing the right fixes, but I'm also not a game developer. I'm not a marketer. I'm not...
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not pulling the EA Anthem. We're not sure if we should... God,
that game would have been so great. I was so hyped for that game. Yeah.
Love the game. even after it like wasn't that great, it was still a fun game.
It was just flying around, man. Beautiful. But
The
anyways,
story aside, if it had a
Anthem's still
Cyberpunk
3 years
level
later.
story, but like the game graphics on PC are literally so incredible, and I think like for me there's just this disconnect on console where it just feels more almost cell shaded, but not cell shaded. I don't know if that like it. Nothing feels quite as real. It feels kind of everything looks just slightly fake.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're good graphics, and like
It's
the crowd
like,
density is like awesome. Like you're walking through some of these cities on console, and you're like, man, this is a living and breathing place, better than any game I've ever seen like to date. But then like just the graphics are just a hair, just not realistic. And then you get it on PC, you fire it up, and
oh my god, Keanu Reeves is right next to me.
I mean, this game just looks, the lighting in the game is so incredible on PC. On Xbox, it's okay. On PC, it's just next level, next gen. You wouldn't believe what it looks like. Every surface looks so real.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just reach out and touch it, and you could, by looking at it, you know what it's going to feel like. That's the kind of graphic fidelity that the PC version has, and the console version just lacks that. And like I understand, obviously, it's like not as powerful, but the Series X and PS5 are.
Well, you look at the other games. Look at other games at the Series X, and I mean,
Horizon Zero Dawn looks absolutely incredible. So you can't tell me what
Forbidden West, the new one you're talking. Yep.
Horizon Forbidden West looks absolutely incredible on the PS5. Like those textures are insane. Like you can see people have like been they take zoomed up screenshots of Aloy's face, and they're like, women have beards? And then it was just like nerds not knowing what women actually look like.
That's so funny.
There's just like little like peach fuzz coming off of her face. Like, hair? Women have like just a slight amount of like peach fuzz like all over the place.
That's
like
funny.
We're human beings. That's what it is. And they have it in the PS5 version, like of PS5 version of Horizon Forbidden West.
That's awesome.
Like that's some graphic fidelity on console.
So it has the ability. So let me ask you this. Let's close this out. If they were gonna buy it, well, here, 2-part question: should people go buy Cyberpunk? And if they only have an Xbox or a new gen console, not a PC, would you recommend them buying it?
I think
$60. Or is it 70? Is it 70?
On PS5 it's 70, I think. All next gen games on PS5 are 70.
So is that's a lot of dough when you could buy 3 games on sale versus one Cyberpunk.
Or 2DS from GameStop. Like 90 versus $70.
Yeah.
No, if you don't own it yet, I don't think now is like the greatest time to jump in full price. If it's on sale for $30 or $40, it might be an okay time, as long as you're gonna go in realizing that there's still a few bugs. The game I don't think is finished yet, and they're gonna keep updating it. If you already own the game, is now a good time to jump back in. I think it is. I think you can play through the game, and there's no game breaking bugs for the most part. There are a few bugs, but it's reduced,
manageable.
Yeah, and
it's not going to affect your gameplay. It's not going to detract from the story or your fun.
Yeah, and if you're like the classic BioWare fan of a like conversation story based RPG, I get $60. I think it's worth it now. I mean, if that's your game, if your go-to game is like the old BioWare conversation based, your choices matter, really in-depth story. I mean, the game is good. It's fleshed out on a lot of different levels. The story is incredible. As long as there's no bugs, the graphics are incredible. Yeah, it's good. I mean, but if it's either that or some of these new games coming out, no, I don't think so. I think
Elden Ring or Cyberpunk.
Elden Ring for sure.
Oh, that was a trick question.
And well, unless you're on PC and you want the next gen graphic. Like, listen, Elden Ring's gameplay looks awesome, but its graphics
kidding me? Are you kidding me?
The graphics are good,
Before
but
we
they're
get in a
still
fight,
feeling a
before
little
we
bit
get in
last
a
gen.
fight,
They're still feeling just slightly last gen. Cyberpunk is next gen on PC, but you have to have a good graphics card. So there's a lot of caveats to it. A lot. Elden Ring's obviously going to look the same through
You were going to
multiple
have
different
some From Software fanboys
Bring it
coming to
on.
torch your house.
We can go Dark Souls style on each other. Bring it.
Shit, I know you're new. Before we fight fisticuffs on our channel, what are you going to tell the people for this week?
I'm going to tell them, if you got Cyberpunk, check it out.
All right.
If you don't, hold off and get Elden Ring, or maybe some Destiny like myself. And if not, always stay nerdy.